Yeah, yo te quería contar una mansa voladita que me pasó por la ciudad. Yeah. Anyways. Yes, 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 yes. Let me let me do this, close this, submit this over here. Oh my god, hello. So early, il colon. Hello. We, we're getting everything ready for somebody watching today. Aside from the average thing, wait, here it is. Audio and wait. System audio. There it is. And transition, and there it is. Basically, we have some videos to watch. Well, at the very least, one I wanted to watch specifically. I have been neglecting my duties regarding that. So yes. Hello, Vita. Hello, everybody. As always, hello, dear one watchers. Hello, those who decided to lurk. And well, I yeah, just in case, as I said before, I wanted to watch this simple video. Title is The Philosophy of Charles Bukowski. Don't try. I could provide the link if anybody wanted it, or at the very least to have it on chat. Let me do that just in case, because I know that I take sometimes too much time on watching videos. So there it is. Is it pinned? It didn't pin itself, right? Pin? Yes. I don't know, it isn't pinning itself somehow. Anyways, aside from that, wait, I can try from here. Pin. There it is. Pin. Yes. 69. We already reached that number. It is incredible how much it required some dedication. But anyways, well, I think I don't have anything else to say, because the biggest idea behind this is video watching. So let me do that. Play. There it is. It is on. Wait. It isn't on.
Charles Bukowski was a 20th century American writer and poet, known for his unfiltered, potent, and often crude takes on life. Bukowski was born in Germany in 1920 and then emigrated with his family.
Wait, what? No, what? What are you telling me? What? It? No, wait. I pinned the link, Vita. I pinned the link, the full link. You only see the youtube.com thing, but it is the whole link. You made me worry, my brother. It is the link. Click it and you will see that it is the link. Click it and stop worrying me. Yes, it is the link. Thank you.
To America, crude takes on life. Bukowski was born in Germany in 1920 and then emigrated with his family to America in 1923. Bukowski had a horrible childhood, beaten regularly by his father, starting at age 6. As an immigrant from Germany, Bukowski was ridiculed by other kids for his accent and clothing, ostracized as an outcast throughout his schooling. Into his teenage years, Bukowski developed a condition that covered his face with extreme acne and acne-related blemishes, further intensifying his self-consciousness and isolation. The circumstances of abuse and loneliness imposed on Bukowski as a young child and adolescent laid the groundwork for his perspective on life and his desire to express himself as a writer. In an interview much later in his life, Bukowski said that his father was a great literary teacher because he taught him the meaning of pain. More specifically,
I think it is very interesting. Already the kind of depiction that they did on this video. I, from personal experience, I know a lot of, at least here on my city, there have been a lot of people who I knew personally that also, I don't know why, but they develop those same skin conditions, so to speak, and you can really see how at some moments in their lives they kind of struggle. Some of them didn't have it that hard, so to speak, because in the right conditions, people can be contained properly and doesn't have to deal with so much depression, I would say, from being constantly valued in general, in school, in the streets, and all of that. And in general, in any kind of social activity. So those who had a good relationship um, environment didn't have it that hard, but I, at the very least, myself know a lot of kids that, as Charles Bukowski in this case, really have it hard. And hello, Arkia, hello. Um, I will know personally. I do not want to dox myself that much, but I think it is some kind of general that in Argentina we have a lot of fucked up places because of contamination. So that is why, at the very least, if it isn't true, we tell ourselves that is the reason. We had a lot of stuff going on these cities, so we had a lot of fucking naughty substances flying in the air, so to speak. But and also, I will say, even if kids, yeah, mostly kids don't have that much possibility of deciding what they eat and what they do not eat, so it is kind of irrational to put in the hands of the kids the blame in that sense. It is a father that has the obligation of giving them a good or as good enough, what is it? Diet and proper care routine, so to speak. Because even at the end of the day, if you do not personally think it is good for you, a kid, and it is proven, if it is a very playful kid, it needs to take constant cleanings. Not maybe not baths, but at the very least cleanings, because they get too dirty, and that is something that can get on their skin very rapidly. So yeah. Mm, well, yeah, life is hard, but you decided to have the kid. The kid didn't decide to come to you. I mean, if you, I don't think about it that way. I don't see it as, oh yeah, a kid out of nowhere appeared on my life and told me, Papa, Papa. No, it didn't happen like that. You literally went, fucked somebody, and that person made a kid that you also consciously decided to take care of. Because at the end of the day, there is also the example of people who literally disappeared from their kids' lives. So if you're going to do a bad work, do not do not do it. Yeah, yeah. People is stupid. But anyways.
pain without reason. When you get the shit kicked out of you long enough, you will have a tendency to say what you really mean, said Bukowski. In his 20s, after 2 years at college, Bukowski would quit school and make his first real attempt at becoming a professional writer, bouncing around the United States, doing short-term blue-collar jobs while writing hundreds of short stories. However, out of the hundreds of stories, only a couple during this time would go on to get published, and the ones that did found essentially no success. After a couple years, Bukowski basically stopped writing altogether, disappointed by the publishing process and his apparent inability to write well enough to be successful. Bukowski would go on to work various blue-collar jobs for several years thereafter. Then, in 1955, at 35 years old, after about 10 years of not writing, Bukowski nearly died from a serious bleeding ulcer. He survived, however, and then soon after, as fate would have it, Bukowski quit his job, which was at the post office at the time, and began writing again. A couple more years went by, and Bukowski would publish several pieces during this time, but still, nothing was providing much success, and he was forced to return to the post office, of which he had originally quit. Counter to the original time, though.
Yes, you are watching the story of, well, not the story, a kind of analyzing video about the philosophy of Bukowski. So yeah, Bukowski, the guy who was kind of very depressing in a sense, but yeah, he has a lot of very good poems. I I don't remember what they were. I know he had a lot of books and poems. I don't remember which ones were the most famous pieces of literature, but he had a lot of work. That man was really a creative human in a sense, and it is something that we haven't discussed here, but it is kind of common to see that when you are very down in the hole, so to speak, as it happened, as it has just been said, better to say, you, after going through a hardship, you kind of redevelop yourself or rework your whole life. It is very common. So it is, yeah, it is weird to see because even in a sense, even if it didn't happen personally to me, a very similar situation made me in in that sense stream. So I I think it is weird to see how much people is pushed by simply life-threatening situations, but at the same time, if nothing else, called your attention and made you realize that you had to take action. At least, even if it by itself was something not so positive, the outcome that you received is good enough for it to not be a completely dark page on the book of your life, so to speak. I will say. But well, continuing. What I don't have anything to say about a person working, so continue.
This time, Bukowski continued writing while at the post office. Before his shift, he would use whatever time he had to write. Bukowski would continue in this for many years, getting a collection of pieces published here and there in underground magazines, all with very little success. With no real sight of success or money or fame or even just creating a living from writing, Bukowski continued writing nearly every day before work for years. Of course, we know how Bukowski's story ended. He is being spoken about right now as a writer. A renowned, successful, and important enough one to be spoken about with significance decades after his passing, to be considered one of the greats of all time. Bukowski, however, didn't end up becoming traditionally or publicly successful until he was into his 50s, many more years into the second stint of working at the post office. Only after a long, continued attempt at writing did Bukowski's work finally become noticed and appreciated by an audience, and only after a deal with a publisher who agreed to fund Bukowski's work did Bukowski begin to make any sort of living from it. At 50 years old, on the tail end of the traditional career timeline, Bukowski got his first real shot and took it. After it would seem like to many that it was over, it began, and he would soon become increasingly successful and famous in the literary world and culture at large not long after. It took
Wait. It is already at that time. I would guess anybody who is 50 years old already has a very kind of defined philosophy. So, in a sense, it is great to see how much Bukowski left behind his whole philosophical ideas. So I think. Oh, hello, Chen. We are watching. I think it is pinned. I think. Let me check. Let me do a little check. Yeah, it is pinned. Philosophy of Charles Bukowski. Um, Talking about that guy today. I wanted to watch it, and we are doing that. So that basically. Um, as I was saying now, we were basically talking a little bit about the idea that it is kind of sad to see that he became famous so late in his life, as in a sense to not be able to change his ideologies or his ways of seeing things in the world so much. Because if you have 50 years, I don't think you are going to be that flexible on anything. He took that chance as anybody will do because it is money, and even if money itself isn't good, having more of it isn't going to hurt you. So I don't think he did it because he was expecting to become a more, not knowledgeable, but rather more profound writer. He already had a lot of underground books that nowadays we know were important to his work and might have a lot more to say than his later works, but the actual or the latest one he had were more of a kind of copy and paste of his already done works, or very, how is it, very bite size takes on his views rather than what he had written before. But even if that is his reality, he he left a lot of things to read. Mm, wait, what? Sometimes being old it's a blues. Less rarely you will be influenced by what others want to think or what is more profitable. No, yeah, yeah. But I mean in the sense, Bukowski is, or personally, when I read his work, I find it that he tried to be a lot of a philosophical writer in a sense. You need to be open-minded to do philosophy, and if you do not have the possibility of finding somebody to debate your ideas with, you end up, yeah, spending time with your own mind, and at the very least, getting a little bit of feedback from those who rarely see whatever it is you're doing. But in the sense of Charles Bukowski, he became famous with his, in a sense, philosophical work very late on his life. So that what I was trying to say is, because he was already so old, it was going to be hard for him to be able to deconstruct the human and the ideas that he had behind everything that he thought. It, it is kind of evident, in at least how I see it, that it is important to mention how his infancy was in this video, for example, because if if he had a different growing, so to speak, he would have a lot more of, yeah, it isn't that he will have a lot more of different ideas, but rather he will have a lot more opportunities to analyze himself in a sense. Be a little bit more critical instead of being, at the end of the day, going a little bit more deep into what the video is probably going to talk in the future. Bukowski is very cynical, and well, personally, I think those who are cynical commonly grow out to be cynicals because you lacked a lot of, not passion, but rather hope in whatever it is you're doing. So if you don't have that hope, and even more when you are 50 years old, it is impossible for anybody to implant that hope in you. Yeah, yeah, it is hard to not be, but it is also not impossible. And it is the simple fact that it isn't impossible is what makes it great to avoid. I think at the end of the day, being cynical is very close, or end up driving you to be very closely related to nihilism, and that that ideology in particular is very, 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 from an outsider point of view, stupid. I wouldn't say being nihilist is good. Yeah, but personally, we also have talked a little bit about the idea that here, at least the potato things, it isn't what happens to you, but rather how you see things happening to you. You sometimes, we talk about it in this sense. Sometimes you need to humanize everything, even more than what it is normally required. Because if you understand that sometimes people is willing to sacrifice others for the sake of their own cause, be it something that only them see as good, we might be having a little bit more of an opportunity of understanding what is it they are trying to say when, or yeah, what they are trying to achieve. Because if you focus only on your perspective, you you will be very lucky to see something that isn't how we are getting fucked by others, because it is true in your perspective, but in the perspective of others, as we have talked, I think it was yesterday, if somebody needs to steal because they need to make a living out of it, or they got pushed to that decision, it isn't that the problem lies in you for being stolen. The problem lies on the whole rest of the system for pushing a person to steal, not on you for being so stupid that you didn't pay attention to who was going to steal from you. It, it can be a cynical steal, but you can take it from a little bit more of a positive point of view, even if it is cynical.
Successful and famous in the literary world and culture at large not long after. It took Bukowski years and years of writing and toiling and trying to finally have circumstances work out in his favor so he could gain traction and find success as a writer, to get what he wanted since he was a teenager and fulfill what he believed his life was for. In this, it is at least initially perplexing that his gravestone reads right now, "Don't try." A message that seems rather grim, especially
Why, what, why is this lagging, bro?
for a gravestone, as well as counterintuitive to his story. How could a man who became successful in fulfilling his idea of himself, a man who, although it took a while, found immense respect and recognition for his craft, all because of his relentless trying, how could this man leave the words, "Don't try," as his final offering? Arguably, perhaps this is where the most important idea can be found, not only in Bukowski's work, but in Bukowski's life. In a letter to William Packard, a publisher, friend, and fellow writer, Bukowski wrote, "Too many writers write for the wrong reasons. They want to get famous, or they want to get rich, or they want to get laid by the girls with the blue bells in their hair. When everything works best, it's not because you chose writing, but because writing chose you. It's when you're mad with it, when it's stuffed in your ears, nostrils, under your fingernails. It's when there's no hope but that." In this letter, Bukowski is referring to aspiring writers, but he's arguably referring to something much larger, the notion of purpose and success and creative endeavors in general. When you were very young and someone asked you for the first time what your favorite color was, and you decided that it was blue or red or whatever else, perhaps it felt like a choice, but it wasn't really. No one chooses how colors make them feel and why some seem to paint onto the brain with better feelings than others. We can describe the reasons why we like the colors we like, but we can't choose why we do. The color, sort of, chooses us. In a relatively low-stakes situation like our favorite color, it's easy to just realize which one feels best and declare it without trying. How one defines their purpose and carries out the bulk of their life, however, is not so easy nor so low stakes, making it inevitably more complicated, convoluted, and challenging. Although perhaps it is, at its core, somewhat the same as knowing your favorite color. In the same letter to Packard, Bukowski went on to say, "We work too hard. We try too hard. Don't try. Don't work. It's there, looking right at us, aching to kick out of the closed womb." In this, Bukowski alludes to the idea that if you have to try to
Yes, wait, let me go a little bit back to not abuse myself so much. Yes, it is very interesting to see. Personally, when I read his works, there is a lot of things that can be salvaged, even if he was, as we said, or as we established before, kind of a depressing author. There is a lot of hope in his message still, because one of the best ways to see it is, if you really feel like doing something, you shouldn't think too much about it. You should just do it in the good way. I think Bukowski never meant to give what is it hope to people who is really not feeling doing anything. In reality, yeah, for example, in reality, if you were talking about, in this case, doing your own work, it is more correct to do the work that you really enjoy doing rather than, yeah, as he said before, the work that you really find literally no earning aside from your income. At the end of the day, it is a time of your life that you are spending doing it. It isn't something that you do and after it is done, you can literally gain back that time. Time is always running in a sense, so if you're going to do anything, you better do it show it. But I I think he will talk about the other side of the. I hope at the very least that this video talks about the other side, because there is also a very dark side of Bukowski where he really sometimes got too deep into the idea of how much do you feel what is it that you are doing, because sometimes he got really like, if you do not feel it uh, burning from yourself, literally making you hate everything else that you are doing because you're not being able to do whatever it is you desire. And if you do not feel like you are going to die if you do not do that particular work or endeavor that you desire so much, you might not even try. In that sense, I don't think, unless you are very agitated about something in particular, it is impossible for an average human to have on his daily life such revelations, in a sense, because when they are so intense, they really feel more like a revelation than rather something that you just decided to do. I, yeah, in that sense, we will see. I hope it is mentioned, whatever it is, because sometimes Bukowski got really dark.
Aching to kick out of the closed womb. In this, Bukowski alludes to the idea that if you have to try, if you have to try to care about something or have to try to want something, perhaps you don't care about it, and perhaps you don't want it. Perhaps it isn't your favorite color. Throughout his life, Bukowski constantly returned to writing, never reducing or modifying his voice for the sake of something else, never letting the rejection or the suffering throughout the process ultimately take writing away from him. It's not that Bukowski didn't try, it's that he didn't try to be something that he wasn't. He tried to be a writer, but he didn't try to want to be a writer, nor did he try to write how he wanted to write. He just did it and kept on doing it. At least creatively, we seem to often perform at our best when we are ourselves, natural and honest, attending to who we really are and what we really want to say or do, without the addition of ulterior motives, without forcing it or overthinking too much. And perhaps this is, in part, what Bukowski meant. Truthfully, no one other than Bukowski can say or know exactly what Bukowski ever really thought or meant in anything. And none of this is to suggest that something as hard and complicated as purpose and passion and desire and success is easy or prescribable, because it isn't. It's all as unclear and complicated as the very brain that contrives the whole system. And it's not as if writing or filmmaking or painting or making music or business or whatever else must come easy to the writer or filmmaker or painter or musician, etc., in order for it to be the right thing or for them to be great at it. But it is likely, however, that if the pain and endurance of working through the process does not feel worth it, and you are not compelled to do it even in the face of rejection or hardship or sacrifice, then perhaps it is here where Bukowski might say, don't try. But if it does,
Wait.
if the thought of not doing the thing hurts...
Yeah, but that is also something that I found a lot when I was trying to read his books. Sometimes Bukowski says things also that contradict themselves in a sense, because if you mean to only do what you really feel like doing, and at the same time you shouldn't do anything else that you do not feel like doing, how do you really know that what you are feeling like doing isn't what you are trying to push yourself to do? And at the other hand, how do you know that it is impossible to enjoy the things that you are pushing yourself to do? At the end of the day, personally, I think it is very possible for you to push your your obligations into something that you can rather enjoy, as long as you try it hard enough in kind of being the opposite there, because it is kind of impossible nowadays to, at the very least, in some phases of life, to not go through hardships that you will never enjoy from a common perspective. So you might as well find how to make them enjoyable rather than to be in pain throughout the whole process and saying, oh no, yeah, I hate to do this, I hate to be part of the system, I hate. You do not gain anything, and rather being in accord to what we were saying before, you're going to do them. You might as well find how to, at the very least, not worry about what you're going to do. They are part of the work that you need to do. So if you, at the very, very least, find how to not make them feel so heavy, yeah, such a heavy load on you, you might also find how to enjoy your time on other more delightful things for you.
Where Bukowski might say, don't try. But if it does, if the thought of not doing the thing hurts more than the thought of potentially suffering through the process, if the thought of a life without it, or never having tried it at all, terrifies you, if it comes to you, through you, out of you, almost as if you're not trying, perhaps Bukowski might say here, try. And if you're going to try, go all the way. Charles Bukowski.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, yeah. It is all right. But wait, how can one not hate the system? Every day, I only feel hopeless about everything. I personally, I think it is kind of weird to say it, but you cannot hate the system if you understand that it is a system by itself. It has no intention, no meaning, no objective, no nothing. The system is there to uphold the whole society. You cannot hate it if you understand that it isn't trying to hurt you in any sense. It it hurts people, yes, but it is because the system itself is incorrectly designed, so to speak. If if we have the idea that we need to make people work 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, the 4 weeks of the month, the 12 months of the year, from the from their 20s to until they are literally dying, the problem isn't the system. The problem is the people who says to others, yeah, the system is completely fine. And when you find how to make the system not feel so bad, or you humanize the system as we were speaking before, if you understand that it is horrible, but not because the system decided to be, we we are the ones who made it in a sense. We cannot change how the system is, so you you cannot fight it in any way. You you might as well hate it, but you aren't going to gain anything from hating it. Um, why can it? The intent it has, it's meaningless to me. Only its consequences matter in my mind. Mm, yeah, but as we were saying, the system itself doesn't care about anybody. You, it isn't that you can't. You always can hate the system, but you gain nothing from hating something that will literally never feel about you anything. It is the same as hating a house, or hating a ball, or hating a car. Even if you hate it so much that you start dying from the hate yourself, the object itself has no possible way of reacting to your feelings. If you keep worrying and hating something that will never change, you, yeah, to say it positively, you might be spending your time wisely, so to speak. At the end of the day, there are more closer things that you might have the possibility of changing. How is it that one is spending his time, and yeah, going back to the video, how is it that you are doing the things that you want to do, and how is it that you are trying the things that you want to try instead of not trying those parts of the life that you think you shouldn't be trying. It is always something that you need to be working on. You might not have the possibility of fighting the system, but you might have the possibility of fighting or discussing, not fighting, because sometimes we use fighting in a bad sense. Discussing things with others, discussing points of view with those who are close to you, changing how we feel about things, changing ourselves for the better. You always have things to try, but if you decide to not try because the act of trying is boring to you, or you think it is worthless, you are, yeah, you are very very deep in a depression hole, at the very least. But well, it was a great video. Mm, and I don't know how much we have been going so far. I hope. Let me check. Uh, only half an hour out of a 7-minute video. Amazing. Once again, amazing. Incredibly amazing. It is impossible for me to not make a tiny analysis about anything. I love it. But wait, I wanted to go back to this part over here.
Reasons. They want to get famous, or they want to get rich, or they want to get laid by the girls with the blue bells in their hair. When everything works best, it's not because you chose writing, but because writing chose you. It's when you're mad with it, when it's stuffed in your ears, nostrils, under your fingernails. It's when there's no hope but that. In this letter, Bukowski is referring to aspiring writers, but he's arguably referring to something much larger, the notion of purpose and success and creative endeavors in general. When you were very young and someone asked you for the first time what your favorite color was, and you decided that it was blue or red or whatever else, perhaps it felt like a choice, but it wasn't really. No one chooses how colors make them feel and why some seem to paint onto the brain with better feelings than others. We can describe the reasons why we like the colors we like, but we can't choose why we do. The color, sort of, chooses us. In a relatively low-stakes situation like our favorite color, it's easy to just realize which one feels best and declare,
Wait, that's what I wanted to hear. Yes. Personally, I think it is kind of, or what? It is true as long as you do not work on the things that you really want to enjoy. For example, okay. Let's take it to the wrong approach. For example, those who decide to shelter themselves behind bad ideas, as those who like murdering people, think that it is correct at least for them to do so, even if they know it is morally wrong to kill others, because they find an enjoyment on the act of doing it, even if it is wrong and even if it brings no good to anybody. Those people decided and worked for a, a long enough amount of time so that they create on their own minds reasons good enough to like things that in general others didn't really like. And it wasn't that the idea of killing somebody appeared out of nowhere and they said, yeah, you know what, I will do it. Every, yeah, at least I don't know about children killers, so to speak, because the grown ups, so to speak, the adults who decide to kill others know that what they are doing, or, well, yeah, not killers, murderers, those who decide to murder other people really know that what they are doing is wrong. But even if it is wrong for this whole society, they found ways to enjoy it, and they combines themselves that it was a good reason enough what they had in their own minds, even if the whole system itself didn't say it was correct. Sometimes you can work yourself. In this case, it was a completely bad example, but you can take it and do the correct kind of ordeal and convince yourself to do things that otherwise you would have said, nah, they aren't worth it. I don't think it is completely true that you have no complete, no, or not complete, at the very least, no existing control about what and how you will enjoy things.
without trying. How one defines their purpose and carries out the bulk of their life, however, is not so easy nor so low stakes, making it inevitably more complicated, convoluted, and challenging. Although perhaps it is, at its core, somewhat the same as knowing your favorite color. In the same letter to Packard, Bukowski went on to say, "We work too hard. We try too hard. Don't try. Don't work. It's there, looking right at us, aching to kick out of the closed womb." In this, Bukowski
And well, taking into account with what I said before, or what I said right now, and facing it with this idea, I think another possible way to see what Bukowski meant was like you should always try to do those things that you have been neglecting instead of those who you really have to work hard to achieve. Instead of becoming a multi-millionaire, you should instead, if you are feeling it deep inside yourself, you might go and simply start a farm, start growing plants, start doing simpler things. At the end of the day, you have a lot of things inside yourself that you are wanting to do, but you somehow decide to dilute yourself from those desires because you think other desires are more important. And at the end of the day, as long as you don't try whatever it is you are feeling like doing, you will ever know how much you will never know how much satisfaction you will gain from those ideas. That is another possible way of seeing it, I think. And that was it for today. Nothing else to say. That was the other point that I wanted to revisit. Well, I still haven't ended eating my apple, so let me do that, and we will end the stream after that. Well, there it is. Now, time to. Oh, wait. We aren't. There it is. Some bus. Well, what? You know you have to do some work in that regard, so good luck with that, Vita. I will find somebody to raid, and meanwhile, as always, thanks everybody for coming in. Thanks to those who decided to come in and weren't able to stay for the whole video. Thanks for the watchers. Thanks, every single person. Thanks, as always. Thanks. Nothing else to say. Digby, right? Digby, yes, Digby. Wait. Let me make the raid, and I will say officially bye to all of you. Raid, Digby. There it is. Raid, Digby. Yeah, Digby. Now, in this time for real. Bye, everyone.
Ow!
Is it available to raid yet? Twitch. Raid. Oh no, 10 seconds. Okay, 10 seconds. Random noises. No. Goodbye. Raid.